I want to talk about a topic here today that is something that I paradoxically know a lot about: ignorance and delusion. This is a central topic in Buddhism, because when we're subject to ignorance and delusion, we end up doing a lot of suffering. Slides to that forward. So see what happens. The first word here is a word that I have mispronounced for many years, apparently, because of my ignorance. So I've been pronouncing it nescience, but actually it's nescience, like conscience, nescience. But however you pronounce it, it means ignorance. And Wu Ming in Chinese is two characters, no light. So it's like the mind is in darkness. The fundamental misunderstanding of reality that underlies all of suffering in the unenlightened people is the first of the 12 links of dependent origination, the cause of suffering. The craving is rooted in this ignorance. Rather than a lack of factual knowledge, it is a basic error made mode of perception that prevents people from seeing things as they really are. For example, not being aware of the fact that all things are ultimately impermanent. So there are three poisons. And these three poisons are greed, craving, anger, hatred, and ignorance and delusion. So we can say that greed is always wanting more, even after getting what you want. And the antidote to that is generosity. Anger is the irritation that happens when things do not go our way. And then we try to cause harm to ourselves and to others because we're so frustrated and upset. And the antidote to that is loving kindness and compassion. And ignorance is a lack of understanding of the true nature of things. And the antidote to that is wisdom. In the 12 links of dependent origination, we have here the craving, which is usually the way that people become aware that they're suffering and they want things that they're not getting them and they're distressed. And this is grounded, all of these things are grounded in original ignorance. And nescience, this is the English word, comes from the Latin nescienza, meaning not knowing or ignorance. It is built from that which you know, and science, knowing, not knowing. So it literally means it's not knowing, the state of not knowing. It's the same Latin root that gives us knowledge and conscience. So nescience is simply not knowing. Delusion is actively knowing incorrectly. So you might say that nescience would be, I don't know what the moon is made up of, and delusion is believing that the moon is Swiss cheese. I don't think we're going to have a lunar dairy farm anytime soon. So this delusion, moha, different word. In Chinese, ji or yu, ji, moha, mohu, misled by appearance, lacking, not taking what is the seeming or senses for real, confusion about the difference between the relative and the absolute truth. Again, one of the three poisons we can say also there. So in the discourse that we chant here on Sunday, we've been chanting it for a while, I think it's chanting today, is on the 8 realizations of the great beings. We chant the Thich Nhat Hanh translation that was originally translated into Chinese by An Chagall. And the 4th realization is the awareness that indolence is an obstacle to practice, laziness in the original version. You must practice diligently to transform unwholesome mental states that bind you, and you must conquer the 4 kinds of Mara in order to free yourself from the prison of the 5 aggregates and the 3 worlds. So a week or 2 ago, Bhante and I had a conversation about what are the 4 kinds of Mara. We looked it up and discovered that, yes, there are indeed 4 kinds of Mara. So in the Chinese, here it is. So we have laziness, inattention, laxity, and continuously active in the mind. And so I did a word-by-word translation of this particular text, so I'm not going to get to go through this right at this moment here. So the 4 Mara enemies. So the first one that is Klesha Mara. This is the Mara, we can say, is a personification, kind of like a demon. It's a way of kind of representing an energy or a state of mind as a being, but we can just see it as kind of a state of mind. The demon of ill desires that injure one's body and mind. This is the Mara of greed, hatred, confusion, pride, jealousy, all of the mental afflictions. These arise because reality is misperceived. And then the second Mara is the Skanda Mara. Giving you some of the Sanskrit here, because it's translated from the Sanskrit into the demon of aggregates, the 5 elemental aggregates of the body: perception, conception, volition, and consciousness cause living beings many kinds of suffering. They become the basis for being that we feel imprisoned or bound. So taking the 5 aggregates as real, instead of recognizing them as they are, just interconnected. And then the Murcha Mara, the demon of death who cuts off the lives of all living beings, mortality, impermanence, and the fear of dissolution that arises when one clings to a self. And then the Devaputra Mara, the demon who is the king of the six heavens of the world of desire, who tries to prevent living beings from doing good things. So these are the six forms of Mara. So sometimes we can identify these Maras within ourselves when we become greedy, when we attach to our body, when we are frightened of death, and when we have an urge to do something harmful, realizing that, oh, this is not a good thing to do, but I'm going to do it anyway. These forms of Mara are all within us until we overcome these enemies. The Buddha was visited by Mara many times in the suttas. Yes. So because we do not see clearly, affliction arises. Because we do not see clearly, we grasp at the aggregates. Because we don't see clearly, death appears as an annihilation of a truly existing entity. And because we do not see clearly, obstacles and temptations have the capacity to deceive us. The Buddha did not say that form, feeling, perception, mental formations, consciousness are themselves the problem. The problem is the deluded appropriation of them as real. Form Maras are not merely demons outside of us. They are the ways ignorance manifests when it encounters experience. When nescience is present, the aggregates become a prison. When wisdom is present, the very same aggregate becomes a field of liberation. So there's a whole section of the linked discourses that are connected to the Maras. And I've selected a few of them. There are four big ones that usually are studied. But I'm going to just talk about a couple of them here. The linked discourses are grouped by subject rather than by how long they are or whether they are involved in a particular number. So in this Sakalita Sutta, the stone silver, there's a story about Devadatta. Devadatta was the Buddha's cousin who tried unsuccessfully in various ways to gain leadership over the Sangha from the Buddha. He tried to harm the Buddha many times. He tried to kill the Buddha once by hurling a rock down from the mountainside. But the rock is crushed, and so it misses the Buddha, but it sends out a splinter that pierces the Buddha's foot, drawing blood. According to the commentary of the discourse, together with the essay 413 describes the Buddha's reaction to this attempt on his life. Well, I have heard that on one occasion the Blessed One was staying near Rajagra in the Matakuchi Deer Reserve. At that time, his foot had been pierced by a stone sliver. Excruciating were the bodily feelings that developed within him. Painful, fierce, sharp, racking, repellent, disagreeable. But he endured them mindfully, alert, and undisturbed. Having had his outer robe folded in four, he laid it down on his right side on the lion's posture, with one foot placed upon the other, mindful and alert. Then Mara, the evil one, went to the Blessed One and recited the verses in his present. Are you lying there in a stupor, drunk or drunk on poetry? Are your goals so very few, all alone in a secluded lodging? what is this dreamer, this sleepy face? And the Buddha responded, I lie here not in a stupor, not drunk on poetry. My goal is attained. I am sorrow-free. All alone in the secluded lodging, I lie down with sympathy for all beings. Even those pierced in the chest with an arrow, their hearts rapidly beating, even they with their arrows are able to sleep. So why shouldn't I with my arrow removed? I am not awake with worrying or afraid to sleep. Day and night do not oppress me. I see no threat of decline in any world at all. That is why I sleep, with sympathy for all beings. And then Mara, the evil one, sad and dejected at realizing the Blessed One knows me, the one well gone knows me, vanished right there. That's a common theme that is at the end of the Mara Suttas. In the Raja Sutta rulership, this is one where the Mara comes and tempts the Buddha to become a ruler of the world. I've heard that on one occasion the Blessed One was staying at the Kosalans in the wilderness hut in the Himalaya district. Then, as he was alone in seclusion, the train of thought arose in his awareness: is it possible to exercise rulership without killing or causing others to kill, without confiscating or causing others to confiscate, without sorrowing or causing others sorrow righteously? Then Mara, the evil one, knowing with his awareness of the train of thought that the Blessed One's awareness went to him and on his arrival said, exercise rulership, Blessed One, exercise rulership, oh one well gone, without killing or causing others to kill, without confiscating or causing others to confiscate, without sorrowing or causing others to sorrow righteously. But what do you see in the evil one, the Buddha said? You would say to me, exercise rulership, Blessed One, exercise rulership, O well-gone one, without killing or causing others to kill, without confiscating or causing others to confiscate, without sorrowing or causing others to sorrow righteously. The Blessed One has developed the four bases of power, pursued them, handed them from the reins and taken them. As a basis, given them grounding, steadied them, and consolidated them, and undertaken them well. If he wanted to, he could resolve on the Himalayas, king of the mountains, as gold. He would become a mountain of gold. Or attempts at this. He talks about the four bases of power. The four bases of power are part of the 37 factors of awakening. This is the third in the group, as we can see here. The four foundations of mindfulness, the four right efforts, and the four bases of power. Four bases of power. So, you should know a little bit about this before we go forward. Among develops the base of power endowed with concentration founded on the following. That each one, the fabrication of exertion, think as that. This desire of mind will be neither overly sluggish or overly active, neither inwardly restricted nor outwardly scattered. So that to fill in the blank, the first one is aspiration, singleness of mind for awakening, persistence or effort, intent or will, and then discrimination. Given a mind that's able to understand things clearly. This is like power. So from the four efforts, foundation of fabrication of exertion, for the sake of non-arising of evil, for the sake of the abandoning of evil, for the sake of arising of skillful qualities and for the maintenance of the non-confusion. So we call these the four right efforts. First, we restrain ourselves from doing a negative behavior. Then we uproot that quality so that it doesn't arise again. And then we cultivate good seeds that blossom and become good actions. And then we maintain that. It's a little bit like gardening. You cut off the weed, then you go in and you take the weed out by the root. Then you plant the good seed and then cultivate that good seed. So returning to the rulership sutta, the Buddha says, the entirety of a mountain of gold of solid bullion, even twice that, wouldn't suffice for one person. Knowing this, live evenly in tune with the contemplative life. When you see stress and from where it comes, how can you incline to several sensual pleasures, knowing acquisition to be bound in this world, trained for subduing? Then Mara, the evil one, sad and dejected at realizing the Blessed One knows the one well gone, knows me vanished. So the antidote to this ignorance is wisdom. In the Dhammapada, it's interesting because I've heard some people say to me over the years, that the three Dhamma seals, this is only in the Theravadan tradition. It's not in the original Buddhist teachings. I've heard people say this to me. But obviously they have forgotten a section that's very important in the Dhammapada. The Dhammapada is one of the first texts that was ever translated into English. In 1885, Max Muller did a translation of the Dhammapada that is actually quite good. Much of, I've said this before, much of Buddhist teachings didn't actually become available to us in the West in good translations until the mid-1990s. So this was over 100 years earlier this was translated. And in the Dhammapada, book 10, it says, all conditioned things are impermanent. Sabbe sankhara anicca. All conditioned things are unsatisfactory. Sabbe sankhara dukkha. All things are non-self. Same dhamma anatta. When one sees this, with wisdom one turns away from suffering. This is the path to purification. And then a few verses later it says, wisdom springs from meditation. Without meditation, wisdom wanes. Having known these two paths of progress and decline, you should conduct yourself so that wisdom grows. So, attention and wisdom. A king asked Venerable Nagasena, what is the distinguishing characteristic of attention and what is the distinguishing characteristic of wisdom? Just as your majesty, a barley reaper takes a sheaf of barley in his left hand and takes a sickle in his right hand and cuts the barley, even so your majesty does the spiritual aspirant take the hold of the mind with attention and cut off the defilements with wisdom. Indeed, thus, your majesty, examination of the distinguishing characteristic of attention and severing is the distinguishing characteristic of wisdom. Previously, your majesty, I said severing the distinguishing characteristic of wisdom, and now furthermore, the illuminating of the distinguishing characteristic of wisdom. Just as your majesty, a person might bring a lamp into a dark house, with the lamp lit, dispels the darkness, produces illumination, shows the light, and makes manifest forms, so too, your majesty, wisdom arising dispels the darkness of ignorance and produces the illumination of insight, brings forth the light of knowledge, and makes complete the understanding of impermanence, unsatisfactoriness, and formlessness. See the interconnection there. So in Chinese, the wisdom word in Pali, Panya, Sanskrit, prajna, Chinese Hui. Hui is the heart below, and it's holding a broom. I like to think of this broom sweeping away the dust of the defilements. And wisdom has another term also, besides Hui, which is Zhi. This is the sweet knowledge to hit the mark. That's one of the derivations. That's the one that I think makes the most sense. So wisdom, which is the basic connotation of the character Zhi in the classic Chinese, is that of wisdom is distinguishing from the knowledge, jhana, Ji, Virgin, two types of cognition. That which operates through pure, non-discriminating awareness, and that which operates through the discrimination of differences. There's a lot here, but basically we can say that in many texts, you'll see that the Zhi are joined together. Also, sometimes you will see that prajna, or wisdom, is bo. We chant this here, bo, mito, sinjin, the Heart Sutra, the perfection of wisdom, the Heart Sutra. The prajna is transliterated. So what we want to do in this practice is we want to dispel our ignorance, our delusion. When we sit in meditation, we notice where the mind goes. The mind, it's headed toward distraction or laziness. Is it headed toward anger? Is it headed toward craving? Is it confused? All of those things, we notice that in the mind. And we try to bring the mind to things that are more wholesome. How we can learn the Dharma, how we can be more compassionate, how we can exercise good judgment. So when we bring our mind there, then it moves the mind away from this agitation toward more and more stillness. And eventually, when the mind becomes less and less agitated, the mind becomes more and more still. And we know this because we can keep the mind on the object of meditation without it wandering. But when the mind is wandering around and agitated, don't be discouraged. Because you get discouraged and the mind will wander more. But to recognize, this is my opportunity. With some practice, I'll get better at this. Just like if you learn archery, at first your arrows go all over the place. And eventually, if you practice over and over again, you begin to get closer and closer to the target. And hit the target, eventually maybe you hit the bullseye. So practicing is the key, not discouragement. Particularly at the beginning, you don't want to get discouraged at the very start. So for the first 10, 20 years, don't get discouraged. You're just starting. So, end this on Father's Day with a nod to a great American Buddhist named Robert Thurman, who passed away just a few days ago, 4 days ago, in New York. Bob Thurman was really a person who did a great deal of good in this world. He was the husband of Nina Thurman. He was the father of 5 children, including Uma Thurman. He was a translator for the Dalai Lama, proficient in Tibetan. He was a professor of Tibetan studies at Columbia University in New York, wrote many books and co-authored many books, some with the Dalai Lama. And he was a founder of the Tibet House in New York City, which I visited some years ago on the Lower East Side. Just a wonderful fellow all around. And 84 years old, good life. And the Buddhist community in the United States will miss his leadership and his scholarship and his good nature. All beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. May all beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May all beings never be separated from the altruistic joy which is free from suffering. And may all beings dwell in the great equanimity which is free from attachment, aversion, and ignorance and delusion. Cultivate